Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and you're fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about all of the white cards. These are just kind of white cards. You know, we did the silver quill cards already in the lore hold. Now we're just going to talk about the cards that are white. In Strixhaven School of Mages, the new magic set that is set to come out on the 15th, which is in, I don't wear a watch, but I wouldn't mind wearing a watch. Just, yeah, the last one broke on me. Anywho, let's get into it because if I can get these done in like I'm gonna say under half an hour, that'd be amazing, but around that time I'll be okay. So let's see what we're looking at. First up we have the wonderful Ageless Guardian, a 2-mana 1/4. Okay, it's bad. There's no reason to take this. Last pick, whatever, if you need to, but probably don't play it. Yeah, that's it. Although I guess this might tell us that the name of the plane while we're on, because Strixhaven is the school, so perhaps the plane is called Arcavios? I don't know. Maybe. Could be wrong. We'll find out. I can just Google it, but so can you. Okay. Beaming Defiance, a 2-mana instant speed spell. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. A neat little thing you can do in. Sorry, it wasn't the breast. It was I had to reach down to my arm. There's like a tag or something poking it out. I don't know. Unpleasant. I don't know. Anyway. So you can do the nice little combat trick sort of thing you can do in limited, sure. In standard, not really worth it. You can kind of do similar things for 1 mana. We still have the Eidolon available. I forget what the rest of the name is, but you know, it's like Archon of something? No, not Archon. Allseed of Life's Bounty, that's the one. Yes, which I believe is an Eidolon. So we still have that, which can give things indestructible. We have Karamitch's Blessing, which is a little more limited, but still, our Hex can give a similar sort of protection. So as far as those go, I'd run those over this thing. This doesn't really seem great in standard, but limited, yeah, you can run like one of these and not feel too shabby. Clever Lumimancer. Darn, that is Lumimancer. Okay, 1 mana 0/1. Well, we're not going to go too far, are we? Whenever you cast a spell, so this is Magecraft. Sorry, let's address what Magecraft is before I just kind of keep on going and saying things are mediocre and living my life on the edge. So, Magecraft is a new keyword / just reminder text thing, new theme they have in Strixhaven. All cards that say Magecraft has this first like initial trigger, and then what happens afterwards when you fulfill that trigger or requirement is different based on the card. So, all of the Magecraft cards start off with whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery or spell. That's it. Whatever follows is unique to the card. In this case, Clever Lumimancer gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So if you're running a lot of instants, then you could try to get away with this in limited, but Jesus, an uncommon too. I'd rather it not be. Otherwise, I'm not really too excited to see this card at all. In standard, I would be very surprised if it's really got anywhere. Ideally, like, you know, it could be a 1 mana 2/3, which is fantastic, except you have to put more mana into it anyway. You have to play something else, right? So it's more like at least like a 2 mana 2/3 in many cases. Oh, but you're still establishing the board with an instant or sorcery. You could be playing something that puts tokens on the board. You can do something that potentially buffs your team, but this probably isn't really what you want. So it's gonna be like a 1 out of 5 maybe in standard, because I could barely potentially see play if a few of these and you play something. Okay, they all get buffed again. The fact that it isn't just a once per turn thing is nice. So there's a slight fringe possibility, but for the most part, no, and still, no. Alright, Combat Professor, a 4 mana 2/3 with flying. Let's see, well, you better be a bird because you can fly. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains Vigilance in the turn. Well, Vigilance is nice, and the fact that it can target itself is pretty good. It means you'd be a 4 mana 3/3 flyer with Vigilance. That's pretty legit. In limited, that's awesome. In standard, it's useless. So yeah, like that's fine, but it's not really gonna make any waves. You already have better flyers in standard, but flying in limited is like a good thing to do. So here we are. Sorry, there's a lot of mediocre ones at the start. I mean, our first one was Ageless Golem, right? I mean, or Guardian. Not a lot to say. So yeah, moving on. Defend the Campus. 4 mana instant speed. Choose one. Don't choose two. Just choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn, so 4 mana buff everything, that a little bit, that's not good. Or destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. That's okay. Versatility means in limited you can play like one of these if you don't have any better removal, essentially. I wouldn't bother playing this for the combat trick. It's going to be difficult to get everything to line up just the way you want it to. And if you're floating, or not floating, but if you have 4 mana open, and you know you swing into something like that, or you keep it open and you still have cards in your hand, it's a fairly obvious kind of forecast that you have this card if you're trying to get there. So I wouldn't really count on this getting far, aside from maybe killing something every now and then. In Standard, this card is god-awful. Oh my goodness, get out of here. Detention Vortex. 1 mana. For an aura, enchant non-land permanent. Doesn't have to be a creature, just has to be a permanent that is not a land. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Or, let's see, beyond that you can pay 3 and destroy it. Only your opponents may activate this ability, and only as a sorcery. So, you know, every set we see some sort of effect. Sorry, I'm staring at my little stress thingy sometimes. Like, I'm working hard to figure out what I'm doing. It's green, so it's going to green screen out, but then it turns blue, so it comes back to life. Here you go. It phases between reality and the dimensions. That's where the blind eternities come from, actually. Just a little keepsake. Anywho, I'm going to leave that over there so I don't keep looking down. I'm like, what is he looking down and squeezing? Anyway. Detention Vortex is where I'm going to go if I keep that line of thinking. So every set we see another kind of pacifism effect, which is very strong and limited because you basically remove a creature and it's usually discounted as well. Unless there's a lot of like sacrifice permanent or sacrifice creature effects, which are the few in black and green in particular, because I don't want to call it something and I don't want to call it something else, so I'm just going to call it black and green. Okay, here we go. Now everyone's happy and no one is upset. That's how it works. That's how the internet works, right? But let's see. So for 1 mana, it's all right. Usually you want to use this. Let's see. Well, you can use it on one of their little dudes, and they actually have to pay more mana than is potentially than the card's particularly worth. Like if you use this on a 1-drop for your opponent, just because you want to get stuff through, that's cool, and hopefully you're doing it well. Then they actually have to pay more mana than the creature is actually costing them just to get it doing stuff again. So. Let's see. Beyond that, activated abilities can't be activated, so there's a little extra value to that as well. Not much. I'd say maybe run 1 or 2 of these. Like your opponent gets 3 mana, it's like, okay, pay 3, this is gone, attack? Not great. So, in Standard, absolutely not. In Limited, maybe like a 1.5 out of 5. Like, you can pick it. Again, you want like hard removal instead of just like this lingering stuff. And if you're playing against any kind of black or green or both deck, I would just probably side this out because odds are they have some way of making it just not a problem. Alright, Devastating Mastery. Look familiar? Okay. So, 4 mana sorcery. You may pay 2 and 2 white rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So, instead of 6 mana, you can pay 4 mana. If the... Oh god, this is worded very oddly, I believe. There's a mastery for every color, you know, this sort of thing. And they have that same, if you paid this instead of this, then do this. And it's like, some of them just don't make sense. Like, grammar-wise, I guess. If the 4 mana cost was paid, an opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and returns them to their owner's hand, then destroy all non-land permanents. Okay, this one actually is not too hard to explain. So, for 6 mana, For 6 mana, you can destroy all non-land permanents. That's it. The only thing that's left on the board are lands and I guess indestructible things. And beyond that, you're good, right? So, and anything where, you know, it was destroyed, so it spawns a token when it dies, you know what I mean. But 6 mana board wipe, okay, it's not bad. We've seen these before. But you do have the option of paying 4 instead of 6. 4 is a pretty good number. The fact that it kills all non-land permanents, meaning creatures and planeswalkers. Yes, we have Storm's Wrath, but what if you're not running red? Or what if you're just not interested in that sort of thing, or you want things dead? Then you can do something along these lines. If your opponent has a lot of 5 toughness or 5 loyalty planeswalkers or something, then it's not really helping you out too much. But if you do pay 4, they get to pick 2 things. They're still off the board, but they are going to come back pretty soon, most likely. So you play this, your opponent bounces 2, they play 1, maybe 2 next turn, and you have to deal with a couple threats rather than a whole board full of threats. Okay. And I guess it has that nice option where if you're facing a lot of things, sure, you can pay the 4 mana. But if you're just facing a few things, then you kind of have to invest 6. But hopefully, if you're facing a few things, you can bide your time. Whereas if you're facing a lot, you want to play this a little bit faster. And it might not matter that they play their 1 or 2 threats again that they bounced, because you just needed that 1 turn or so to help stabilize. So I actually really like this card a lot more than I talk about it. Yeah, definitely. And limited, like, it's great, like a 4 out of 5 there, because there's a board wipe, and as long as you can, you know, pace yourself for it, you'll know you have it. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna not play a creature here and there, and I'm gonna play this in a couple turns, and all your stuff's gone. You know, it's like should be at least like a 2 for 1, let alone 3, 4. Yeah, easy. And let's see, in Standard, I wouldn't be surprised if it saw some play. I think I definitely see some play, especially in like a Esper control sort of thing, or an Orzhov, any kind of control deck. Esper, Azorius, probably not Orzhov, I don't know, but you get what I'm saying there. I like this card. Dueling Coach, a 4-mana 2/2. When Dueling Coach enters the battlefield, correct your posture, and put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. For 5 mana and tapping this, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with a counter already on it. With a +1/+1, I should clarify that, because of course with Ikoria, they're like, well, we're gonna give this thing a flying counter and a double strike counter and a trample counter. I was like, okay, so I actually have to say what I'm saying. Or was that Ikoria, or was that the Godzilla set? That was the same thing. They're the same thing. Okay, I'm being silly. I was like, wasn't that something on Godzilla? And Luminous Broodmoth, which is like Mothra. Okay, yep. My bad. My worlds are colliding. So let's see. Enters the battlefield, counter goes on there, and you can give things with counters more counters. But it can't do anything else beyond that. Like, so once it enters and there's a counter, it can't spread more counters on things that don't have them already. Okay, for 5 mana, it's pretty expensive, but in limited, this isn't too bad, because you can, if you're a little kind of even on something on the board, you can play it, buff something else for the turn, which immediately gives +1/+1, which is nice, and doesn't have to be itself. And then you can just keep tapping it every turn, and now my 5/5 is a 6/6, is a 7/7, is an 8/8, and your opponent might not be able to keep up with that tempo. Let's see. Now in Standard, no, useless, but in limited, it's okay. If the tap ability there was like 1 or 2, it might be able to see some play, but even then it's not great because you don't have a whole lot of things that put counters on everybody. Yeah. Alrighty, Eager First Year, 2 mana 2/2. Alright, we have ourselves a bear that is also a mage and crafty. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So I guess the payoff here is like you pay 2 mana because it already has 2/2 worth of stats versus paying 1 mana for a 0/1. That gets a better buff. Okay. I mean, in limited, this is fine. This is like a 2 out of 5 because it's just 2 mana 2/2, like in the worst case scenario, which is all right. The other one is a 1 mana 0/1 worst case, which is actually horrible. It almost literally does nothing. At least Darksteel Mirror, or Myrrh, whatever you want to call it, was indestructible. But this is just, the other one's like just, ugh. God. Yeah, this is not, anything that great to talk about. It's kind of very plain, but it's a good introduction to the mechanic for Magecraft, and a little thing, little prowess-y ability, little harkening back to those days. But yeah, and limited, like I said, it's okay. Standard, there's better options, of course, but nice card. Elite Spellbinder, 3 mana 3/1 with flying. When Elite Spellbinder enters the battlefield, look at target opponent's hand. Oh, okay, you're gonna take a peek with a white card, no less. Okay, sure. Usually that's a black effect, we'll see. You may exile a non-land card from it. Okay, for as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. Oh, a spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast. Oh, okay. Paolo Vito Domidoros. Oh, look, is that his championship card? That's really cool. Huh. I didn't even know. Yeah. Alright, I guess that's either his likeness or someone who he chose to put on the thing. It's probably like, supposed to be like his caricature. That's really cool. Nice. What's his name? Was it Javier Dominguez? Was the one that's on Fervent Champion? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's some kind of Javier. I'm not sure if I have his last name correct, but anywho, these are usually pretty good. So 3 mana. The downside is that is a 3/1. The good thing is that if this thing dies, the mana, the tax on the card is still there as far as I know. And of course, this just happens when it enters the battlefield. Doesn't have to connect like, say, Thought Erasure, no, Memory Thief. Like some cards have to. I can't remember the one. Oh, the flyer, and it's like, I'm going to take your stuff for 3 mana. Okay. But let's see now. Thief of Sanity. Oh my goodness, that card. I know it's not in Standard anymore, but I just couldn't. That was a classic example of like you play Thief of Sanity. I play Teferi on 3. Bounce your Thief of Sanity. You lose the game. But anyhow. So let's see. It's nice that, like, it's a combination of things that you don't usually get to see in white. Of course, taxing is something you usually see, but you get to see a card from your opponent's hand, and it gets exiled, which may or may not be relevant. But yeah, and then you get a 3/1 flyer, which is like, okay, you might get in there, so it's like aggressive and controlling at the same time. Ooh. Oh, I mean, this could even see its way into like an Azorius Flyers thing just to help protect itself. And I was like, oh, I know you have that board wipe coming up on like 4 mana somewhere. It might just cost 4 mana. Although, yeah, even though it says you may pay 4, it's not accounting for the whole thing, so you would still have to pay 6 at the very least. So yeah, you could just use this like on curve just before board wipe comes out or some kind of significant removal, and delay it a couple turns. And if you're aggressive enough, you just win in those couple turns. Really nice card, yeah. In limited, this card is fantastic. Honestly, like this is great, and standard even is really good. So yeah, nicely done. There you go. Props to the champion. Okay, Expel, a 3-mana instant speed thing. Just exile target tapped creature. That's it. Very simple. Another thing white is really good at: dealing damage to or destroying or exiling things that are tapped or attacking or blocking. They're like that sort of like you're in combat or something. You have done something. You must pay for your crimes. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, just this is not going to see any plain standard. Of course, we'd rather just kill anything instead of something that's specifically tapped. I don't want to have to wait for it. But beyond that, standard, not limited is good. Limited is good. It is your removal if you're playing white. If white is open, this is a fine card to take. 3 out of 5, maybe 3.5 out of 5 even. It's not your, you know, actually even more. 4 out of 5. Why not? This is 3 mana instant speed removal. It's good. Okay. So is murder, but you know, that's the magic card, not the actual act of violence in real life. That's bad, and don't do that IRL. That's very bad. Okay, Guiding Voice. So 1-mana sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and learn. So this is the first time we're seeing the learn mechanic in this video. I've talked about it in the other videos. But what learn does is, well, you see it right there. You may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. And the other option that is actually stated, but you might not notice it, is you don't have to do either of those. You can just choose to do nothing with the learn and ignore it entirely, and you just play this as a 1-mana +1/+1, which is boring. So in limited, you're actually in limited and in arena, the outside the game is your sideboard, actually, in any kind of like formal game, I'd say, you know, arena or any sort of like legit thing. Then yes, outside of the game is your sideboard. In a casual play, you know, kitchen table top thingy, playing in the living room, playing, you know, at the library against some friends. When library's open again, oh my goodness, look at the time when this video is being uploaded. Then that's just your collection. If you happen to have it, hold on, I'll be right back. Go to the next room. I got the lesson. Here we go. I was like, okay, I really need to do that. But lessons are basically cards that already kind of exist, and they increase the cost of the spell like by like 2 or 3 mana or so, 1 or 2 mana really. They are all sorceries, worth noting, and some of them are colorless, so you can throw them into anything. And there's one that gets lands, there's one that draws you cards, there's one that I don't know if it destroys or exiles creatures, and they're kind of just generic effects that are, you know, good for the situation. That is your toolbox. So if you have a good number of lesson cards that you had in limited, either, you know, sealed, of course you probably have a few, draft maybe not, because they're not really all that great to pick up, then this is a good way to get them. And it's not, for a 1-mana spell, that's okay. There are some things that cost like a lot more just because it says learn on the card, which are not worth it. At least for 1 mana, you can often have like 1 mana left over at the end of the turn, like, okay, I'll buff my dude and I'll pluck this card out and maybe it'll be useful later. That's okay. This is probably the best learn card that I've actually seen so far, and I reviewed all 5 of the freaking classes, and it's like, why am I playing this? Just so I can get a mediocre card? So this one's actually pretty cool. In limited, if you have some lessons to pluck with this, or even if you just want to go through your deck a little more, I mean, 1 mana, buff something, discard and draw. It's really not bad. So on that note, yeah, in limited, like a 3 out of 5. Honestly, if you have the lessons, then it can be like a 3.5 out of 5. In standard, sort of a similar thing. I mean, it also is worth noting that you can build like a Magecraft deck and have super cheap sorcery to trigger your Magecraft, and it's going to pluck another sorcery, which will again trigger your Magecraft. So that's nice. If you have any sort of synergy in that way, this could actually be like a 2.5 out of 5. Maybe even a 3. It's just the basic ability of put a counter on target creature is very boring. You could potentially have this in like a Boros deck though, or oh no, I said the color. Oh, I said the name. Oh, I meant to say red and white because of Boros. No, it's Lorehold. No, it's Boros. Oh my goodness. I said it before. I want Ravnica and Strixhaven to do battle to the death. And see which naming convention, I guess. No, not convention. Just which names reign supreme. We're gonna be like, well, so Boros obviously won, and Gruul is good, but for some reason, Quandrix beat out Simic by a hair, which is surprising because Simic mutated many things to have many hairs. Okay, so This card's good. I like it. Okay, moving on to a rare crit. Leonin Lightscribe, a 2-mana 2/2 bear, but it's also a cat. Cat bears. Alright, Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. The fact that this affects everything is pretty legit. This is actually like super good in limited. I'd say like 3.5 out of 5. It would be higher up, but this on its own doesn't actually get you anywhere. Late game, you play a 2-mana 2/2, you feel pretty bad. Oh, I can play my, whatever sorcery thing. Okay, cool. So now it's a 3/3. Oh, what are you gonna do against my 5/5? Well, not much, but if I chain together some more spells, and like you have to have so much mana to develop so many more instant sorceries to something. But if you play it earlier, it's good. And even still, worst case is a 2-mana 2/2 is all right. So I'll give it like the 3 out of 5 there, or 3.5 out of 5, because the upside is actually pretty high. In Standard, this could see some play because, I mean, it buffs everything for the turn, but still, it's everything. So on that note, yeah, like, pretty legit card there. I wouldn't be surprised if this was in like a mono white aggro, or again, like a Boros aggro sort of place. So yeah, like 3 out of 5 in Standard, 3.5 out of 5 limited. Yeah, okay. Ooh, look at that as a mythic card. Malvinda, Student's Advocate. A 3-mana 2/3 flyer, and for 0. Oh, okay. You have to trigger the ability though, which is kind of like interesting that you have to do it. Usually it would just not have the 0 cost there and say you can do this, but maybe this is like a once per turn thing. Yeah, activate only once per turn. Okay, so you have to activate it. Anywho, let's see. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. Nice. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more to cast this way. Oh my goodness. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only once each turn. You still pay the spell's cost. Timing rules for the spell. Okay, cool. Geez, 8 more is a lot. Oh my god, that is a lot. So you want things that target your own creatures, or you just want things that are great even if they cost so much. And 8 more? It's hard enough to have 8 mana on the board at some point, let alone having something cost 8 more, which is probably going to be like 10, 11, 12 mana. If you want to replay like a sweeper, it's like 15, 16 mana. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a lot. Well, I'm not 15, 16, more like 14, 15. Still though. Okay. So you want to use this on things that target your own creatures, right? Right. Okay. And for 0 mana, there's really no downside to just having this on the creature. 3-mana 2/3 flyer is okay in limited. And if you have any cards that affect your own creatures, like Guiding Voice, for example, like if you want to target your own thing with that, I wouldn't. But if you wanted to, then it's not a great idea. Let's see. Let's see there. So, and it checks for the target when you cast it. Okay, interesting. Still not too bad. It's a strange effect, I'll give it that. Like, I'm sure that the similar effects exist in Magic already, but like, it seems unique to me. At least that 8 stands out as like, oh my god, a huge sore thumb. Okay, in Standard, there are probably some decent buff spells. I don't know them off the top of my head, I apologize. But some decent instant or sorceries that you can pluck from the graveyard that won't cost much, just gives you like an extra little, almost like a Loris effect. In Limited, this is going to be tough to pull off, but worst case is a 3-mana 2/3, which is not bad. So for that thing, like a 2.5 out of 5-ish in limited, it's okay. Don't count on casting anything with the ability, but it's okay. And in Standard, I could see like 1 of these, maybe 2 of these making it into a deck somewhere if you have some really good buffs or whatever. And again, playing like a mono white aggro, where you want to balance out the creatures and the instant sorceries, so you have the Magecraft and you have the Magecraft triggers. It's going to be a delicate balance there, but when you figure it out, you're set. So this can just help make it a little more reliable in case you run out of like, your instants and sorceries in hand. Like, okay, I'm going to play this, and I just have this thing as an option, not for free, so I'll have to pay to cast the spell, but it's like an extra card in your hand. Okay, Pilgrim of the Ages. Oh, good, this one looks boring. Because I can get through it quickly, because I'm 24 minutes in. Okay, 3-mana 2/1. When Pilgrim of the Ages enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic Plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So, it tutors for a land that's pretty boring. On a 2/1, that's actually really bad. 6 mana, return it from your graveyard to your hand. It's not that good. If you already have 6 mana, then do you really need to get this back to your hand to search for another mana? Another Plains? I don't really think so. So I would not play this. I mean, if you have some really if your curve starts off at like 4, or like if you really need to hit that key 4 drop in your draft or limited thing, you could try running one of these. If you run 2, I'm gonna feel bad for you. In limited, this will not be, in standard, sorry, this will not be run. Not at all, not a chance. In limited, you could run one of these, again, if 4 mana is like a huge point for you, and if you don't hit it, you're gonna lose. And if you can't hold out for like, 3 turns or so on 3 mana, yeah, otherwise, Pillar drop recruiter, or rescuer, not recruiter. Alright, 5 mana, 2/2. Flying, still really expensive. When Pillar drop recruiter... When Pillar drop rescuer enters the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So 5 mana, okay, so it's like Gravedigger's a 4 mana, right? 4 mana, 2/2. And you just add any creature from your graveyard to your hand. This is a 5 mana, it flies, but you have to add a tiny creature to your hand. And it's got like no stats. No. 0 out of 5, all across the board. Okay, cool. Professor of Symbology. 2 mana, 2/1. When Professor of Symbology enters the battlefield, you learn! Oh, that's kind of cool. It's just a learn thing added onto a creature. That's fair. That's not too bad. Language. The language isn't dead until we stop learning from it. Okay. If you say so. But let's see. Yeah, I like this card. This card's okay. I would put it like similar to a 2 mana 2/2 status in limited. So right around a bear, like 2 out of 5. Yeah, it's just 2 out of 5 really. I'm not really too keen unless you pulled like, the March of the Mascots or whatever it's called, or some really super awesome kick-ass lesson card. And there's a couple that are actually potentially worth the cost. But other than that, no. I mean, let's say you don't have any lessons, okay? A 2 mana 2/1, discard a card to draw a card. Okay, it's alright. It's alright. Standard, get out of here, you're pretty useless. In limited, you're okay. Secret Rendezvous, ooh, how scandalous. Alright, 5. 3 mana, you and target opponent each draw 3 cards. Strixhaven's 5 colleges encourage natural rivalries among the students, but some bonds transcend all barriers. How very pleasant. How quaint. So, let's see here. So for 3 mana, you both draw 3 cards. Why? Why are we doing this? Ob Nixilis is not in standard. Doesn't need to be. Do we have Underworld Dreams? I don't... Maybe? I think that came in Theros Beyond Death. I think that was a reprint, but like that cost triple black anyway and sees no play. Oh god, this card is bad. Like 3 mana draw 3 is good. Because Divination's 3 mana draw 2. And it doesn't see any play, but like it's okay. 3 mana draw 3 would probably see some play. However, the drawback is your opponent also draws. God no, this is bad. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't. I know you're thinking about doing it. Don't do it. There's gonna be some kind of meme decks that do it and they try to either deck out their opponent in white for some reason, or we're gonna try to have them discard to hand size, ooh, or some nonsense. And there's gonna be some that are running like, Underworld Dreams and some kind of like, it's like the Rack or Black Vice, I think it is, that does that, and those are old cards. In standard, this card is just so bad. Oh, I feel bad for you. Okay. And that's... Okay, it's an uncommon. If it was a rare, I would just lose my mind. Semester's End. This video's almost coming to an end, yeah? Maybe. 4 mana, instant speed, exile... instant speed, read a frickin' book. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control at the beginning of the next end step. Return each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, exile things that you have. Beginning of the next one, they come back. Okay, so a little kind of flicker thing. I don't mind that. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter if it's a creature, and an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. Worth noting, unless you're running Teferi Time Master from Force Set, whatever the last course I was, where you can use his loyalty abilities at instant speed, you're not going to be able to, like, you're not going to be able to use the loyalty abilities of the planeswalkers if you do them this way. So I guess what's the idea? You play a planeswalker, you minus it, you still have some mana left over maybe, or you play this next turn, exile the stuff, it comes back with its original loyalty +1, hopefully it's okay, and the next turn you still +1. I feel like it's never really going to be a bad option, though. And the fact that it's instant speed means you can take all your creatures. If you have a bunch of little guys and your opponent has something big, you can just chump block, exile all of them, they come back stronger, and they've all been blocked, so you don't take any damage. That's pretty nice. Also can be used to avoid like a board wipe, potentially. And it puts +1/+1 counters on things, which kind of ties into the creature we saw a while ago. Not a great creature, but the one that can add counters to things that already have counters. You know what? I like this card. I like this card quite a bit. For 4 mana, it comes in just before board wipe would. It's not great, because like 4 mana, you also still want to be applying pressure to your opponent, and this just kind of buffs what you have, which isn't much. Like ideally, not ideally, but I guess in theory you can have like 1 drop, 2 drop, and then like a 1 and a 2, or like a 3 drop. Back in the day it was 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, 3 drop. But that was like Dominaria time, and we had it's not History of Benalia. Oh, that was quite a card. That was a pain in the ass to deal with, but it was quite a card. The artwork's just superb. This one's nice. I like this card. In limited, this actually is really kind of cool, because also your opponent's things are tapped, and you think like they think they're forcing you to block. All your things are tapped. I play this. My creatures are now stronger. I attack every game. In standard, maybe like a 2 out of 5. It could see some play, but I think it's a little too like. I'm gonna be honest here. I think there are too many words in this card for it to see like really a lot of play, because I think there's just too many subtleties and nuances going into it to really be utilized. Okay. Show of Confidence, a 2-minute instant speed. When you cast a spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you've cast this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies, and you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature against Vigilance on a turn. So this is. I mean, this is essentially Storm, just for you, of course, not for your opponent's things. So you want to cast other instant sorceries that are cheap, ideally. You know, so opt. Okay, do something else that costs a little bit. I don't know, Thrill of Possibility, sure, or whatever. You're playing 3 colors now, and then you throw this down. You play it, and then it copies itself like 2 or 3 times. You trigger Magecraft like 5 times for the whole turn, and then you add counters to things, as well as giving them Magecraft and then giving them Vigilance, and that's nice, I guess. I mean, how many times do we want? So 2 mana, do this 1 time is bad, right? This is actually really bad. 2 mana, do this 2 times, where put 2 counters, and either 1 thing is Vigilance, or 2 things gain Vigilance, and they both go up a little bit. That's like okay, but I still wouldn't really see any play. So if you manage to copy it 3 times, now we're talking. Now we're actually in a place where it would be like legitimately playable. The issue here is, what is the other color that you can do? I mean, of course, ideally you have like 3 1-mana spells that you play, 1-mana instants or sorceries, and then you play this on top of that, so that's 5 mana they are devoting to buffing some creatures and giving them Vigilance. No, not in standard. I'm sorry, but when I put it that way, and I'm putting it that way, no. In limited, maybe. If you're going heavy in the Magecraft and you happen to pick up like some really cheap spells, then sure. I know instant or sorcery. Just bear with me here. But otherwise, no. Like it's kind of funny, I guess, but no. In limited though, you could probably get away with copying it once. I still don't like it though. Nah. No, Vigilance isn't. It's good, but it's like not that good. If it was Death Touch, obviously it's good. Indestructible, oh my god, that's fantastic. Flying, yeah, you can probably swing up for that. Vigilance, I'm attacking, I'm just this orientation though. I'm attacking like this. I'm not attacking like that. No, I'm attacking like this. Sparring Regimen. A 3-minute enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, learn! Learn, damn you! Okay. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature and untap it. Now that's better. This is like a pseudo Vigilance. It hangs around. It lasts for like each thing. Whenever you attack, you put it on target attacking. Okay, so it has to be an attacking creature. It doesn't have to be like, you know, it only targets 1 creature that's attacking. Let's put it that way. And untaps it afterwards. And also, like, immediately you do get the learn effect, so it's like 3 mana tutor. And then if you attack the same turn, yeah, this card's actually fine. This card's not bad at all. If you don't have any lessons, I'd put it at like a 3 out of 5 in limited. If you have lessons you can pull with it, and it's going to be constantly buffing your creatures. Even if like you get bored wiped, you can still play it, and then maybe get a creature that attacks at some point later on. Yeah, that's fine. Like 3.5 out of 5. Maybe even a 4 out of 5 if you have lessons in limited. In standard, this is still okay. Is it too slow for a 3-mana spell though? Would I rather just play a creature that's going to be strong? Or some sort of angel life gain synergy thing where things get buffed and grow out of control, and that's what I'm wondering here. It could be okay. I'm gonna say like a 2 out of 5 in standard, maybe, but I don't think it's like really, it's not quite there, unless one of the lessons that I already took a look at, whatever, turns out is like bonkers and I'm either forgetting it or I misevaluated or something. Then you're okay. All right, Star Pupil, a 1-mana 0/0. Why is white doing this? Where they just want to have like weak things that get buffed? Like, no, you're not Monastery Mentor, or you're not Monastery Swiftspear either, for that matter. What are you doing? Star Pupil into the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, when it dies, put his counters on target creature you control. Okay, so actually it's 1-mana 1/1 kind of modular. Okay, this card's actually good. Don't. My apologies for just seeing the 0/0 there, and like the low stats, and being like, well, what are you doing to me? Why you gotta do this to me? I gotta talk about you. I want to say good things, let me say good things. No, this card's actually okay. In the middle, this card's fine. You just drop it down, you play it, and you have no regrets later on. In standard, this could actually see some play as well. It curves out nicely. It's also pretty good. It's not like quite, Dauntless Bodyguard or Self Savior status there, but if it dies, at least it does something when it dies. It kind of carries on its legacy to something else. Okay, cool. I see it. I understand now. Granted, it's not gonna, run away with any games, so I'm not gonna give it more than like a 3.5. But I think this is a super solid, just card you can play. So like 3 out of 5 in limited, 2.5 in standard. I think it's just like it's okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was in the deck. Stonebinder's Familiar. Is that the last one? Oh god, there's a few more. Okay, 1-mana 1/1 Spirit Dog. Okay, whenever one or more cards are put into exile during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on. Put into exile during your turn? Put a counter on this thing. Ability triggers only once each turn. Why are things going to exile? Did I miss something? I could say when. Why are things being exiled? Is there some specific like exile synergy here that I just didn't notice? Like this exile's okay. No, I don't see it. I don't understand why this is the trigger for this, and it only activates once each turn. That's weird. I don't like this card. This card doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it works for either player's cards, so if you exile their creature, then yeah, or exile their whatever, then sure, it works. But no, I don't like it. Like legit, 1 out of 5 in limited, like 0 out of 5 standard. I don't know what we're thinking here, but okay, it's a strange way to try to be aggressive, I guess. It does get a counter, right? Yeah, it's not just a temporary buff, so at least it's got that, but still, it's not good. Alright, 2-mana 1/2 for a Stonerise Spirit. And it's a flyer. Okay, 4-mana, exile a card from your graveyard, target creature gains flying in the turn. Hey, look, synergy! And no, this card's bad. This card's very bad. 1.5 out of 5 in limited, only because it's a flyer, and can block other flyers. In standard, it's not going to be played at all. It's a 0. It's a big fat 0. Strict Proctor. Okay, I was going to say Protector, but it's not Protector. Strict Proctor. 2-mana 1/3 flyer. That's fine. Whenever a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger, counter that ability unless the controller pays 2. So worth noting, you're not actually countering the creature entering the battlefield, you're not destroying anything, you're just stopping the ability. Unless they have 2 mana to pay for it. In limited, keep an eye on what this thing would actually affect. I don't have a list. I should have a list. I didn't prepare. But I am a professional. Not really. Hopefully I give off that vibe though. It's the suit. It's the suit and the random t-shirt that I'm wearing that really conveys professionalism. But let's see. And the Star Wars pin. There we go. There, now it's art. Okay. Let's see, permanent. So you want to see your opponent's permanents causing things when they enter the battlefield, and then they have to pay another 2. It's okay, I guess. It taxes the goose. Although goose comes down on 1, this comes down on 2. Among other things. It's worth noting, if your opponent's playing like Croxa and you play this, they say, alright, I'm not going to pay 2. And Croxa does not sacrifice itself and just hangs around. Also, the discard doesn't happen. Unless it's a separate ability, it might be, don't quote me on that, but I know you could definitely just choose not to pay 2 and Croxa doesn't die. So, yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, I don't actually like this card at all. I'm sorry, but like, okay, in limited, fine. 2-mana and 1/3 flyer is all right. In standard, no. We have Hushbringer. It doesn't really accomplish very much. Okay. Study Break, 2-mana instant speed, tap up to 2 target creatures, and learn. Standard is useless. In limited, it's not too shabby. Standard's because like you have to use this against an aggro deck, and like then what are you doing? You'd rather just play like a 2/2 at least or something. Is learning really worth that much? No. In limited, this is actually a fine card. Like, legitimately a fine thing to use. It's actually not bad on rate at all, I believe. So, like, you have 2.5 out of 5 limited. Like, this is actually pretty good. Standard, 0. Zilch, 0. Next card. Oh my goodness. Okay, last card. Woo! Okay, well, I wanted to aim for 30. I got to 40. I'm sorry. So, 2 mana, 2/2, Thunderous Orator. It's a core wizard. Look at that. Okay, Vigilance. And whenever it attacks, it gains flying until a turn if you control a creature with flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Intractable, Lifelink, Medicine, Trample. Okay, so this runs into an interesting little deck building, deck theme sort of conundrum. I don't know, a little just strange build space where if you want to build a deck that has a whole lot of flyers, you play flyers. You don't play this card because it can gain flying. You just play a card that already flies. Because if for whatever reason your board gets wiped and you top deck this thing, it's a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance, which is not on theme. If you're playing a Vigilant deck, then sure. For whatever reason your theme is Vigilance and you want it to happen, then you got it. Okay, this guy can do that and then some. In limited, this is okay. This is like a... If you have a lot of keywords, then sure, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, this is really not going to get you too far. But 2-mana 2/2 Vigilance is fine. So 2 out of 5 there. In standard... It just doesn't really make sense to put this into a deck, whereas you can just put the card that you want to put, that you want this to be, into your deck. Follow me? I think you follow me? I mean, this with Death Touch is kind of cool, but like, just play a Death Touch creature, you know? Is it really that big a deal that has Vigilance? I mean, I guess the idea here is also you could have like one of each creature with the things like, well, this one is flying, and this one is indestructible, and this one, and this is the culmination of everything. Which is kind of cool. If it has like Indestructible and Trample and Death Touch, you just keep attacking and just keeps killing all the things. Or swap Indestructible for First Strike and it kills 2 of the things. That's neat. But unless you're playing Keyword Soup, this card shouldn't really be there. And that is all. Okay, so thank you very much for watching and putting up with this. If you enjoyed what you saw, then feel free to click the thing down there that looks kind of like this. Or, you know, I mean, you do what you gotta do. And let's see, also I got a Twitch if you want to follow me down there, there's a link below. And feel free to comment and let me know how you feel about things. Okay, I gotta move on to the rest of the colors. This is the first of the monocolored things. I got like 4 more to go. And then I have to clear my throat. Okay, that's checked off the list. And then I have to review like the lands and colorless cards. So I got my work cut out for me. So good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.